Sit back, relax, put your belt on, enjoy the show.
Reds v Rebels. So, first of all, returning, you've got Siliasi Vunivalu, who was expected to play on the bench in his first Super Rugby game last week. You can take the player out of the NRL Rugby League, but you can't take Rugby League out of the player.
He really brought his Rugby League expertise just doing some off-field stupid shit, didn't he?
Yeah,
Mate,
didn't take him a single game to get banned. So Isaiah Parisi really is a bit of a saint coming from Rugby League.
Mate, I like it. He's just showing his physicality in all facets of his life, really. You know what I mean? He's just ready to show everyone.
It's also
on the rugby field.
Push. It might be nothing.
It was a punch in the head, mate.
No, it isn't. Everyone's been put out as a
Sorry, mate.
Okay.
Allegedly. Don't you talk about the top fantasy player in the
drunken punch in the head? Yeah.
Well, that's
don't you talk about the top Australian fantasy player like that, mate? Allegedly. All right, it's all allegedly.
Anyway, so he should be back on the bench, and if he's as physical as he is at the nightclubs, then whoo, he's going to be big. Brendan Pangramosa as well. Look, he missed last week with a neck injury. There weren't really any details about how bad it was, but it seems like it was minor. So he's one to keep an eye out for. Obviously, going to mean a big difference to Alex Murphy's scoring as well. Look.
On that, I think we said obviously we expected to share game time, but I think we still all have Alex Murphy perhaps as the front runner.
No, I'm going to go with the Wallaby to start if he's fit.
Okay, I like Alex Murphy.
Murphy will take minutes, but I think it's going to be a bit more than that for him to get that starting jersey back.
Yeah. So, look, I think the biggest thing that will dictate the result here is the home ground advantage and the travel that the Rebels have had to go through. About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, the Rebels on short notice had to jump into their cars, some of them not even getting to say goodbye to their families, drive to Canberra so that they could miss lockdown. And then once they got to Canberra, they had to be hosted by the Brumbies and did a trial against their runners last week while the Reds sharpened their knives the last couple of weeks in a row. And now they had to fly the same day that they're playing up to Queensland to play the Reds, which no other team is doing apparently this year, and then fly home. Basically, no one won when they were flying same day last year, and Queensland didn't lose a single home game last year. So I think the writing is on the wall. The Rebels are going to have an incredibly tough start to the season, and all going well, the Waratahs may not have the worst for and against at the end of round 2.
So how much are you're doubling down?
Settle down.
I was going to say you're doubling down on your mortgage.
Yeah, mate, come on, we got the whole preview to go. So
I don't know where you found this punch, Harry.
big questions. I don't know. Maybe you should go read rather than question me in the middle of the podcast.
Push.
So Rebels, the big questions for them was the 10-12 axis. So it's obviously Matt Tamua and who? Does he play 10? And then if so, then what are they doing at the 12 channel or vice versa as well? Nelson, I think you want Matt Tamua to play 12, do you?
Yeah, look, I see him more of a 12 and a leader in that role. Carter Gordon coming in with the support outside him of Tamua. To me, I'm excited to see that. That's the future for them, you know, in terms of a new 10 coming through. So I think that's the way I'd be going. Yes, he's very inexperienced, so I could see it if it doesn't happen like that. But, similarly, we saw Tamua playing 12 a fair bit last year.
Yeah, with Deegan. And Deegan wasn't setting the world alight. So obviously it's something that they are open to. My only thing would be Carter Gordon probably hasn't had as much time as Deegan did with the side to get comfortable either, which may weigh in as well. Campbell Magnay is one of the centers. Who's going to be the other one? There's Ilikena Vidogo. There's Lewis Holland. There's young Tonamapea. Vidogo and Tonamapea both played NRL. Vidogo played rugby league. He was in the development squad for the Broncos, whereas Tonamapea is a little bit older, been playing since 2014. But I like the stat last year he played for the Titans. He averaged 120 run meters a game.
Yeah, but league run meters, you get an extra 10 every run.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, it is more, but that's still solid numbers.
Yeah.
I reckon personally that it should be Louis Holland at 12. I don't think it's going to be that. I reckon
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I reckon Tonamapea is probably your other center, but wait and see. There's no obvious answer at 12, to be honest.
I love Vidogo, but it's about 90% because of the name.
Vidogo is a weapon as well.
He's a young prospect.
To see him.
Absolutely. Reece Hodge, I think he's going to fit in at fullback.
Yeah.
Dan Helipetty's still out long-term with a concussion, so that's the obvious fit in there for me. Flipping to the other side, front row, you got no Cameron Orr, no Matt Gibbon either. So, you know, on one side, you got the depth of Pony Farmer, Sealy, and Lucio Sordoni. And then on the other
Cheetah.
side, I'm not really sure who's there,
Sure.
but the obvious one is Cobus Elof. So I'm looking forward to him getting his pink budgies out again. He had a few big highlight moments last year, so looking forward to that.
He'd partner up well with Pony, two tall, massive guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Just some highlights in the props.
Yeah.
Loose forwards, Issy Nasserani's out still at the moment with coming back from knee surgery, so we'll miss at least round 1, they said. So for me, it's probably going to be Hardwick and Wilkin at 6 and 7 because that's how they finished last year, which means Kemeny can take a place at 8, and I think he played a bit of 6 and 8 there. So that's the obvious one for me.
I'm not sure about
Wells
Hardwick,
as an
to be
option.
fair. Yeah.
Wells as an option as well.
I think
but it didn't seem to be-
And we'd all like to see Gerald Skelton in there, but we don't.
Look,
I don't think we.
I feel like that's a bit more of a stretch to make that. I'd love to see it, but look, that back three, I honestly don't know if Hardwick's the guy that gets that jersey. Between him, Wilkin, and Kemeny, they shared their jerseys lots. Hardwick, I think, is more of a 7. Kemeny, I think, is more of a 6, and Wilkin is my choice out of the 3 of them to start, and he mainly plays 7.
So would you drop someone? Like who else are you putting in?
I put Wells in. I
I was
think
saying we could well see Kemeny on the bench there.
Locks, Trevor Hosea, obviously big minutes this year, big things expected for him. You also got Ignacio Calas, the Argentinian import, who is a possibility, or Ross Hale-Petty, who's obviously played over a long period of time, plays a bit of 6 and lock as well. I know, I feel like they go with Ross Hale-Petty because he's tried and true and they don't like winning games, so they're not going to play their big Argentinian. But he's a big lump of meat as well, so excited to see him. On the flip side, you got the Reds. I think Taniela Tupou, surely a start. They eased him in last week. The question for me is, does that mean Harry Hupert comes in as well? Have they run that as like a 2-pod prop system where they kind of swap together? Or does Dane Zander actually take the starting jersey and really make it his own this year? So I don't know where they sit there. All of us thought Hupert preseason. Zander played really well.
I think it's interesting. I think it's literally a case of rewarding them for such a good preseason. So Xander and Theo, as I was saying on Friday, they looked so incredibly fit. I've never seen them that fit ever. They've lost heaps of weight. I'd hate to think what Brad Thorne's done to them, but I think it's still evident they're the number 2 props. You know what I mean? Hupert and Tupou are your number 1 starting props. And the thing is, against the Rebels this game here, do you need to roll out your starting props again? Or has Brad Thorne been watching a lot of Chasing the Sun and he wants to bring in the bomb squad?
Now, look, I think it was quite clear last week that they wanted to ease Taniela Tupou back in.
Yeah.
And they quite well could be pairing them up, him and Hupert, as their starters is what we're sort of saying here.
For me, that's a no-brainer.
Yep. Crags. Not that other nonsense of start whoever you feel like.
Look, other than that, I think the lineouts, despite James Chipper Hansen coming in as the other hooker option along with Ulysses for the Rebels, I think the change in locks in both teams, it means that the lineout's still going to be an absolute shit fight. The Reds, however, I believe will dominate the scrum. They dominated the Waratahs, who I thought were a lot better than they performed last week. And I think it's only going to get worse for the Rebels to get absolutely run over. Other than that, don't see a lot of changes really for the Reds lineup.
No more. So Lukan Salakaia-Lotto's not back yet, just because that's a question that listeners want to know.
Salakaia-Lotto definitely back next week. So round 3 or on draft rugby round 2 for fantasy footy.
Yeah, actually, I think they have a bye in round 3, so they might be back the week after that.
Sorry?
I think the Reds have a bye in round 3, actually, so they might be back the week after that.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it. On top of that, look, my tip to finish, I'm going Reds by, what did they beat us? 41-7?
Yep.
35 points they're going to win by.
Nice. I'm going to go Reds by, it just depends on how many minutes Vunivalu gets. So if he gets the whole second half, 60 plus. If he gets limited minutes, probably just 40 plus. So, yeah.
I'm going to say 24. Reds by 24.
It's probably more realistic. All right, kick on.
Very good. All right.